Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on January 13th, 2025. Yeah, let's try for 2026. What do you think? At approximately 8 p.m. PST. Now, I've made it my life's journey to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are exactly the same tools I personally use in my own day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I guide just about every decision I make with. Now, with that in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people over the years with varying degrees of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Before we get into it today, I do want to tip my hat to Storm. He is our primary moderator, usually hiding in the background to make sure tech works properly. And with me at the helm, that can be a problem. Then we have, he is also the one that makes sure the problem children are outside the chat room before they become children and become problems. Scrolling down, we have Samo is in the house. He is one of our moderators as well. Glad to see you again there, Samo. You may have your work cut out for you as time goes on, but things are progressing really nicely. Now, scroll down a little further, and we have LA Moon in the house. She is our primary moderator in the chat room, on top of doing the normal thing and making sure the conversation carries on. She too watches for problem children. But the biggest thing she does, in my opinion, is frankly, she keeps an eye on my own physical health to ensure that if I do have a problem, you guys don't get to bear witness to another heart attack. Because that's always fun. Not. Now, coming in with the gold is Mike Jones. How you doing, Mike? Glad you could join us. And we scroll down here and see what we got going on. Oh, and there we have Kira Ava, also in the house. She is a recent addition to the entire package. Well, in all fairness, she's been my other half for over 5 years now. She is also my executive assistant and my editor-in-chief. So, needless to say, she's got her hands full. And then we have gotta scroll up because we got Mike Jones. Where did you go? Mike came in with the gold. We know this. And we scroll down and we go. Eternity Eternal is in with the silver. How you doing, Eternity? Glad to see you. And then we go down and we have Woo Rider in with the bronze. How's it going, Woo? You always seem to be on the go. I trust your day is going well. And we scroll down and we got anybody else kicking around? Not at this point. Okay, now today, and I am such a landmark for this one, but today we are going to look at the self-help side of things, the impact of wardrobe and bearing in the modern world. Sam was just saying, teamwork makes the dream work. Yeah, just to be clear, guys, there's Storm, LA, and Kira are all members of my board of advisors. I will not be having a board of directors because from my understanding, the way things are set up here are, shall we say, tantamount to a disaster for a company owner. Because according to Canadian law, from what I can understand, a board of directors has the ability to fire you from your own company. I'm not interested in being fired. As one individual told me, I am the company. Primarily, if you think about it, I do a lot of psychic work, and this year is no different. It's actually it is different. It's getting busier. But when we start taking a look at your wardrobe and bearing, okay, in the modern world, something we have to realize, and this is why I say I'm not exactly a poster child, but the modern world does take a look at the way you dress, the way you carry yourself, and the way you act, and marks that as an indicator as to whether you're successful. Now, there's a problem with this because many of these people in society have, in my opinion, a skewed idea of success. So, what you have to realize is yes, it's going to have an impact. I was told years ago I really should be in a three-piece suit and look the part of a successful businessman. My immediate comment to the person was, and it's why I'm not a good role model necessarily, but my immediate comment was, if they're concerned about what I'm wearing, they're not that interested in what I have to say. And Lord knows I put my foot in my mouth way too often to argue that point. So when you take a look at what you're wearing, I do strongly recommend you can take into consideration what society is going to think of you. Now, I've got a pretty simple code of dress. Okay, make sure you're dressed. Just live by that code. Before you leave the house, be certain to be dressed. Other than that, it's really up to you. I have told people for years, you don't like the way I did the outfit I'm wearing, pick a new one with 2 stipulations. And I've got nothing against it. And I've got nothing against people that choose to wear it. Okay. I don't wear pink. And no, salmon is not a nice color of pink. Okay, salmon is for dinner, in my opinion. I also will not wear dresses or skirts, including kilts, even though my heritage is Scottish. But when you walk out of the house, I will tell you, okay, and I grew up with a guy in school that had it down to a fine art. You desire to make an impact. If you're going to a black tie event, do not wear psychedelic colors. This is not going to go over well. I mean, you'll stand out. There's no question there. But take a look at what you're wearing. Is this the kind of image that society's going to like? LA goes, I wonder what they said about Steve Jobs wearing black t-shirt and denim jeans every single day. Yeah. And then she goes, I wonder if he cared. The reality is, I like the attitude Steve Jobs came into. And if I recall correctly, he is the one that put Apple on the mark.
Yeah, that's right.
But he came in, he went, this is what you require. Now, honestly, this is the thing I've got to get across to people. And I think that boils down to having to go, I really desire you to be successful, which I do. Problem is, whether you're successful or not is not going to have a lot of bearing on where I am. I will tell you, with the number of books I've looked at, the self-help books and what have you, sorry about that. I will tell you, I've kept the ones I've written very simple. Okay, I figure you don't have to have 400 pages of other people's successes. So every one of the books that I've written that are self-help are designed to be very short in standalone chapters. So if you really have to read over one again, go back and read the thing. They're, the books range from 16 to 25 pages. Okay. And to make matters better, okay, let me just see here. Okay. We are talking books that are small, easy to hang on to. Okay. But when you head out of the house, make sure you're wearing what you feel comfortable in and is acceptable. Now, this said, when you're applying for work, absolutely imperative that what you do is you turn around and dress so you can start the moment you get there. Okay. Even though the odds are they're going to tell you we don't have a position for you right now, being ready to start when you walk through the door is a plus. Okay, so make certain that you are dressed clean, that you are dressed neat. Okay, now this is, of course, assuming you are striving to make a positive impression. If you're striving to just get out of the house, wear what you will. Yeah. LA goes, I always wore professional attire while I was supervising caregivers and nurses. See, when I was an assistant manager, I wore a dress shirt, but I always wore jeans because I worked in restaurants. And it is no fun having to pay the cleaning bills there. But now you'll notice my hair is so neat and tidy. This is because I'm not trying to get a job, first of all. And number two, I take a look at it going, this is me. Okay, so people are either going to hire me or they're not. Now, Kira did suggest that I do remind people, because a lot of you asked over time. I still take Wednesday and Thursday off. Okay, but from Friday through Tuesday, I do come on air on my own. Well, on my own or with Kira at 4 p.m. at around 4 p.m. Okay, for a day in the office. It is back in full swing. Where are we here? Yeah, LA goes, I drew the line at 4-inch heels. No way in the world will I wear them. Yeah, I'm not about to wear 4-inch heels either, to be honest with you. Now, I did used to wear 3-inch platforms, which put me close to the 6-foot mark. But the reality of it is this. The way what you wear, people will notice. I found it out quite by accident coming out of the airport one day. What you drive also matters. Now, there is a very big difference to the way people treat you if you show up at a hotel in a cab as compared to showing up to a hotel in a limo. And I don't mean a stretch limo. I just mean a better looking car. And having traveled extensively in earlier years, I did find that the limos that are at the airports are really convenient from that end. Yeah, Samuel, I don't think those are going to look good on you either. One of the things I did find what you're wearing now. Understand, clothing does not make the man. The man makes the clothing. And by the way, for those of you that are going to jump on that, the woman also makes the clothing. Okay. And it really, Samuel goes, go for comfort, I say. Absolutely. And I'll tell you, if you've ever worn platforms, or even I used to wear cowboy boots, and they fold your toes in on themselves. Great fun, not really.
Honestly, I think that people forget about, like, the shoe. They go, oh yeah, it looks great, let's wear it. But I think it's just important to remember, especially if you're in a job where you're required to be on your feet, wear comfortable shoes, you guys. You're going to be in trouble if you don't. So
The other thing you got to look at, and thank you for that, Kira. The real reality behind it is what you wear will affect the way you carry yourself. I don't know if you've noticed, but when somebody is wearing a suit, they seem to try and walk a little straighter. I will tell you though, I ran into a chap and it was brilliant. He was in a 3-piece suit. Walks into a Ramada hotel. Now this is a hotel chain, mid-range. Guy walks into the Ramada Hotel at 2:45 in the morning. I have to be talking to the night clerk. This guy walks in with a duffel bag and a briefcase in a 3-piece suit. Walks up to the counter, and this is a Friday night. Okay, Friday night in the middle of summer. He looks at the night auditor and goes, "Are you guys open tomorrow?" Well, the night auditor, I thought I was quick. He looks at the guy at the clock and goes, "Oh my gosh, thanks for reminding me. I got to have everybody out of this hotel by 3 o'clock in the morning. They've got to get out of here." Right? Well, this businessman in a very prim and proper suit, beautiful attire, looks at the auditor and goes, "Well, I'm not staying here," and turns around and walks out. The auditor looks at me and goes, "What was that?" I said, "That was abject stupidity in a three-piece suit." And this is why I say it doesn't matter what you're wearing. If your brain doesn't work, it's not going to help. Because, there's an old saying that goes, it's better to be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. See, I know when I open my mouth, I'm going to put my foot in it. My question is, how am I going to get the second one in there beside it? So when you're looking at what you're wearing, okay, wear what is going to draw the kind of attention you're looking for. If you're a mechanic, do not show up at work in a three-piece suit. This is a bad idea. Okay, people are going to assume you've got no knowledge at all of what you're doing. You show up in a grease monkey's outfit, in overalls, you got grease on your rag and what have you, then you don't have a problem. Okay, people will look at you and go, "Oh, you're hands-on, you know what you're doing." Now, conversely, don't be showing up to work in an office in greasy overalls. This isn't going to end well. The other thing I will tell you where it comes to your bearing, and this sounds so cliche and probably brings my military background into play. Head up, meet people eye to eye, shoulders back, okay? And no, I don't mean puff your chest out. I'm just simply referring to keeping your spine straight. Where are we? Oh, yeah, Samuel's going, that's terrible, Samuel. Samuel goes, "Yep, check for you again. They said you have to have one of these." It's a little emoji of a brain. And I'm telling you, when I was a kid, we used to joke about the zombie apocalypse. The number of people that are staring at video phones and walking into traffic. I'm thinking, we're here. But where you're looking at bearing, always, 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 if at all possible. And by the way, this does not apply to those of you that are unfortunate enough to have a bent spine. Okay, head up, eyes to the front. Meet the people that are literally that you're talking to. Meet them eye to eye. And there is an old saying, especially when guys are looking at girls, okay, or girls, the guys for that matter. Remember, when I talk about meeting people eye to eye, the eyes are above the neckline. Okay, keep your eyes meeting the people you're talking to. This way, not only do they know you're paying attention, or at least you're giving the right illusion of it, but they know you're talking to them. Okay, now yes, I've made the mistake of doing that a little backwards, because I've got a peripheral vision that enables me to see I turn my head just that little bit, I can see Kira, right? But I think that's got something to do with the skeletal configuration. One of the biggest things, what have we got here? Samuel's going, sadly, the new generations lack in that department of mental capacity. Absolutely. You should have seen, well, no, it was appalling to watch. We saw a kid today, couldn't have been 10 years old. He had a mouth on him that would have made a sailor blush. Yeah. Storm goes, it is far too common for people in institutions to rise to their maximum level of incompetence. Absolutely. Now, I'm the first one to tell people, I was about to say something that's really bad, but it starts off with an A, has a whole pile of letters, ends in an E. You figure it out. Okay. I'll tell people right off the bat, that's what I am. Don't believe me? Push the wrong button. Okay. And it's one of these things where pushing that button going, what does this button do, is not in your best interest. I will give honest answers. But when you look at bearing, okay, first and foremost, okay, and this is one that just confuses the heck out of me. There are so many people that say that they are experts or they're specialists in body language. And they'll tell you cannot, when you're talking to somebody, do not cross your arms because it says you're closed off. I'm going to pause at this. Let's see what happens. What other options you've got? Okay, you either cross your arms in front of you, you leave them dry and draped beside you, or you clasp your hands behind your back like you're standing at ease. I'm a firm believer if I'm crossing my arms, it's because frankly they're there and I got to do something with them. Okay, understand. If one of the things that body language will do, if you're looking all over the neighborhood, your mind is not on what they're saying. Now, I've gotten in trouble for this before, but you got to remember, be you, okay? Which is so much better than the sixth letter in the alphabet followed by you. LA goes, excellent posture and bearing will get you through if you're wearing a potato sack. Yes, it will. And I will tell you the other thing that is extremely important, and it falls under bearing, is your enunciation and diction. In other words, can people understand what you're saying? If they cannot, you're going to have a problem getting across to them. Unfortunately, in today's world, I found a lot of communication lines with a lot of people I'm meeting now. I have to stick to monosyllabic words because these people that I'm seeing come up, I'm looking at them going, how did you graduate? How are you running a business at all? Now, I'm not, I looked at the idea of upgrading my wardrobe. And then I went, why? Yes, when I go out of the house, I will be dressed. Absolutely. I mean, it's a frightening thought not doing that. But am I going to get into a three-piece suit or even a suit and tie, even a dress shirt and tie? I would not personally hold my breath on it. Okay. Personally, I find ties feel kind of like I'm wearing a noose, and I've done that in past lives, not interested this time. The other thing you will find is where it comes to the way you greet people. You meet them ow, that hurt. You meet them eye to eye. When you're meeting somebody new, very important, and most people overlook it. In Eastern culture, you put your hands together, you bow. In Western culture, sticking out a hand to shake somebody's hand is the acceptable way of greeting. Okay? And there's a lot of people that miss this altogether. Of course, when we had the whole shindig a couple of years back during the 2020 toilet paper shortage, people came to the conclusion that physical contact was a bad idea. You notice they keep coming up with this idea for different reasons. Back in the 80s, there was another problem. Everybody went, oh, we can't touch anybody. I'm telling you, when you're meeting somebody in a professional capacity, shaking their hand, or at least offering to shake their hand, is the important factor. Operation, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And I think I missed somebody here, did I not? Yeah, we had Mike come in, then we had Mike came in, and I'm trying to figure out where we were. And of course, scanning through is working. Eternity
was after Mike, I think.
Yeah, Eternity came in with silver.
Silver, and then Wood Rider came in next.
Right, which puts Operation, you are in with honorable mention. Now, again, and Kira suggests I point this out. Well, I already did that once already, regarding the day in the office. It's up and running now. And even with here, I am building a list of different topics. If there's a topic that comes up that you feel would be a beneficial one to tangle with, let me know. Drop me a line either right here or go to the stream at the top of the chat room. Okay. It's buymeacoffee.com/inner voice. Inner voice J. That will get you to me. Yeah, LA goes, I don't know though. Years and years ago, I had a simple Mexican woman who spoke no English. She begged me for work. I hired her and taught her English for about 6 weeks. She had her green card. Well, yeah, and here's the thing. Okay, if they're willing to work or if they're willing to learn, this is great. But I still will tell you, and I was told this by a Brazilian immigrant up here. Okay, he went, I moved to Canada. I've got to speak their language. Now, that said, in your own home, when we talk about your wardrobe and the way you're carrying yourself, understand something very important. My wardrobe, the way I dress out of the house, I will always dress neat. Okay, I was raised in a time, and I look at the people nowadays going, how do you expect to function? Okay, I was raised where you tucked your shirt in. Okay, now some people carry it untucked. To me, this doesn't work well, but that's personal opinion. The one that throws me for a loop is people that go outside. They're dressed in clean enough clothes, but they've got the pants down halfway down their backside. I'm like, you can't move in that, never mind run. And well, there we are. Yeah, LA goes, it was the best decision I could have made. A year or so after, she helped me serve HIV clients who were considered dangerous. We know so little at the time, so little at the start of it. Absolutely. The reality is you don't know what's going on until you talk to people. And sad to say, talking to the so-called listed professionals is not always the best way to get the information. I was told today, just a couple of days ago, that there wasn't enough proof that herbological solutions worked. Well, I sat there, and this is why I said I'm not a good example. She made this comment, and she goes, well, you can't be certain it's working. I said, I can be certain. I couldn't read the writing on the monitor. I could read the writing on the monitor before I started the meds. After I started them, I couldn't see the monitor itself. I quit the meds. I can see the monitor. I can read. To me, this is proof positive that the herbs I'm using are working. Okay, that there's no doubt that what I'm talking about is definitively saying, it is definitively personal opinion. I love the people that look at me and go, oh, what you're saying is just your opinion. So let's be clear. Everything I say is just my opinion. Okay? I don't do a whole lot of research. I can't be bothered. And here's why. I have spent over 50 years guiding people on how to interact with people. The reason I don't interact with them well enough is because I don't desire to. I tried. I really did. But as you will find out, trying is actually self-debilitating. Okay. Operation. I appreciate that. Let me grab my chart here. Where'd my pen go?
I don't know, but
go ahead.
Operation was just suggesting. He says that he heard Keith mention on a previous show regarding Atlantis, and he was suggesting that Atlantis would be a good topic for one of his future shows. And so that was what Keith was responding to there.
Bad habit of mine. This is one of the benefits of keeping Kira around. She fills in the blanks where I overlooked them. Unfortunately, my brain goes that direction in one heck of a hurry. Point any way you desire. My brain probably went there. But I will have to take a look at that. I will know when I'm placing it and let people know quite literally on my next day in the office, which frankly won't be until Friday. So I might post it before that because I am trying to get a little bit more proactive. But again, Wednesday, Thursday is my day off, or my days off. Blue Cruz, how we doing? Glad you could join us. Hey, we're not doing bad here. What do we got here? Yeah, we've got 7 in the house right now, which is not bad. But we are up to 708 subscribers. So we are slowly inching our way up. Now, the way I look at it is this. I will dress neatly. Yes, you've noticed I don't shave as often as I probably should. Certainly not as often as Kara would like me to. But I've mentioned it before. I'm lazy. Okay, it's that simple. So I don't think about it. I kind of joke about it. My wife is blind. She can't see it. I'm going to get hit for that later.
You will get hit for that later.
But the reality of it is I will present myself in what I consider a professional fashion. I always run into a problem with the professional fashion the moment somebody opens their mouth with an idiotic maneuver. Like when I was talking to the dietitian today, and yesterday I think, but she asked if I knew what would happen if I stopped the meds I'm supposed to be on. I said, yeah, I'll die. She jumps right off the deep end and goes, you're telling me you would rather die than take medication? So I just looked at her. I says, am I explaining anything to you for any reason at all? I just about used words that I really don't like using at all. But IQ levels, I'm certain, have dropped dramatically. Now, yes, I have this little problem. Okay, it's called hoof and mouth disease. There is no question that tact is not my strong suit. Honesty, I rank pretty decently on. But when you look at what you're wearing, what kind of an image are you striving to present? Are you striving to present that you are aware of appearances? Okay. Or are you striving to present the idea that you don't care and you don't mind looking like a slob? The reality is, you go, like I saw a couple of people coming in applying for work at a restaurant today. And I will tell you this, if you're going in applying for work and you're dressed in your house coat or you're dressed in slippers, you're not getting the job. Because what you're telling the world, what you're telling your prospective employer or prospective business partner or life partner is you don't care enough about you to bother being professional. Okay. Now, I absolutely will dress neatly. I don't care enough about image to go out and buy a 3-piece suit. Because the reality is, I've seen people dressed in torn jeans and partial t-shirts treat people better than what I've seen people in business suits treat them. And this is just my own personal observation. This is why I tell people when you're out in public, you gotta realize people are going to look at you and they are going to judge you on the way you look. Same as you're going to judge somebody. I mean, let me ask you this: if you're out looking for a professional business for a bank loan, if you're looking to borrow money from somebody, who are you automatically going to assume is going to give you a better deal? The guy that is dressed neatly, or the guy in jeans and a leather jacket. Okay, there is another thing to consider. Location, location, location. A guy in a leather jacket and jeans leaned up on the side of leaned up against the wall in an alley is not likely to be as above board and as honest as the person in a business suit in an office. However, I will tell you this: appearances can be deceiving. This is why your bearing is so important. Okay, the way you carry yourself, the way you follow, that you talk to people, is the thing that people are going to remember. Okay, if you don't believe me, walk into a library and quietly ask the librarian, and don't do this, by the way, it's a bad example. But picture what happens. You walk into a library and quietly ask the librarian where a book is. They will treat you in one fashion. You walk into the library and you scream at the top of your lungs, you will have a whole other reaction. LA goes, I had a couple guys come in jammies. I sent them back home and asked them to dress as though they respected themselves, their mothers and me. If there is no respect, there is no job. And this is absolutely the thing you have to look at. The same applies where it comes to business. Now, you've seen the way I dress. You've heard the way I talk. Okay. I talk the same way as I write, or is it vice versa?
That's a great question. I think in this case, I think in this case, I don't know. Because it's pretty equal on both sides. So.
I do know when I'm looking at self-help, I do my best to keep things simple. Not as a disrespect to anybody, but because talking to somebody in a booklet about the oscillator densification of the tritrans and facial equipolarity is going to cause a little bit more complication than calling it a star drive. Okay. The same applies to many of the self-help techniques I use. Okay. When I'm talking to people, I put it in terms that make sense, but I won't talk down to you. I will talk to a 5-year-old starting the same way I talk to an adult. Then, if they don't get it, I will gear down the linguistics to talk to them. I'll do the same thing for an adult, but always, 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 and I certainly don't recommend that word very often. Okay, when you're looking to make a decent impression, meet the person eye to eye, stand straight, shoulders back, hold your posture properly.
Smiling is good too.
Smiling really is, assuming you don't have incisors that are oversized. Then it gets frightening. LA is just mentioning about the 2 she sent home. One came back, and she decided to hire him, but he ended up with a very difficult client. He ended up doing very well with him. The nice part about it is sometimes people are really good at jobs they don't expect to be really good at. Okay. And a lot of it has to do with the way with your bearing. Now, the way you treat people, this is why I say, treat others as you desire to be treated. My brother used to rehab quadriplegics so they could live on their own. But he used to deal with paraplegics that didn't want to do the work. So my brother, and he was brilliant with it, he'd steal the wheelchair, lean it up against the wall and go, when you're ready to actually put the effort in, come and find me. And he'd walk out of the room. Now, this may be considered a little brutal or a little tactless, but at least he didn't shove him over. The important thing you have to look at, the way you dress is going to have an impact. Okay, you walk into a business and you're dressed pretty decently, it usually gets you a good reaction. Now, here's the problem. There are people working in certain businesses that shouldn't be, in my opinion. Okay, I walked in, I was actually looking for a suit at the time. This is a number of years back. I was actually looking for a suit. I didn't own one. So I went in clean jeans and a clean shirt, very much this style. The two guys that worked in this major, it was a top end suit store. The two of them, what we got here? Oh, absolutely. Blue Cruise is just suggesting that safe and healthy exercise helps with posture. Absolutely, it does. Don't mind me. World just decided it was going to spin. That's always fun. But my salt isn't back here. So I'm going to put that on pause for a minute before I have a big problem.
And no, I'm not going to fill in the dead space because I have no idea how to do that. So, sorry, guys.
Vertical is not my friend.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Sorry about that, guys.
That was great timing.
Certain things have to take precedence. Sadly, I used to use other stuff that was white too. This isn't that. Sorry, get hit with vertigo, you just don't wait for it. It goes really sour, really sideways in a hurry. Now, when you're looking to make an impression on people, okay, number one, absolutely hold yourself in a good posture. Meet people eye to eye, okay, and dress clean. What your style of dress is entirely up to you. And I know there are people, like I was in the grocery store one day, and there was this guy that had a lot of tattoos, a lot of piercings, and a leather jacket that, frankly, if you like leather and you like studs, this one was to kill for. He was getting a lot of really dirty looks. And I just looked at him. And I mean, my first comment was simple. I said, "Did you do that work yourself?" And he looks at me and he goes, "The tattoos? And the tattoos and piercings?" I looked at him and I said, I was kind of thinking those were probably done by somebody else. I was actually referring to the jacket. And he said, yeah, I mean, it was priceless. If you like leather jackets with studs, this is great. As walking around in day-to-day life, go right ahead. But if you're striving to get a job in an office, I would not recommend a spiked jacket. It's not likely to go well.
That being said, though, because he had done the work himself, particularly if he was trying to look for commissions, that's one heck of an advertising campaign.
Absolutely. You know, and this is why I say it depends on what your aim is. Like, the reality of it is, if you're a hairdresser, it's a bad idea to walk out of the house with your hair in curlers. Okay, it's not going to present the right image. But your bearing and your attitude is going to make all the difference in the world. And this is why when I talk about your bearing, okay, in the modern world, understand, I have never, with well over 100,000 clients under my belt, I have never even heard tell of somebody getting hired by being rude or by using vulgar language, except in one business. Okay, somewhere in the Middle Eastern states, there is a restaurant that bills itself, I forget the name of it now, but it bills itself as the rudest restaurant in the world. And I kid you not, the attitude these waiters and waitresses give the staff and give the customers is, well, I'd never go there. Okay, of course, they do tell you this is what they do. So if you go there, you're bound and determined to have that kind of behavior. Where are we here? Yeah, and Blue Crew, Blue, I'm doing the same thing. I will tell you, and I don't have it here. I've got a little calendar that I now am tracking my exercise with. I've been keeping an eye on my sleep for a long time, and again, if you're not getting the right sleep, you're not going to get you're not going to be able to present yourself in a functional fashion. This is why when you are dealing with people, be certain, take a look at the environment you're walking into. If you're going into an area that is really upscale, do your best to dress up to that scale, because otherwise you're going to stand out in a negative fashion. If you usually dress really upscale and you're going to an area where people are not dressed well, getting dressed to the nines, you're literally putting a billboard on your back saying, please do something I'm not going to enjoy. Okay, you've got to look at the environment you're going to be working in. One thing I will tell you, and I know there's a lot of you out there that are going, well, what do I do if I look in the mirror and I don't like my physical image? Couple of things that you got to keep in mind. Number one, and absolutely, I am not a health professional. Okay, health anomaly, absolutely. But with the number of clients I've had over the years, I have found out a couple of things. One, if you feel you're overweight, okay, the best measurement I ever came across, and absolutely, if you want to use a professional trainer, do so. What I found was literally by simply cutting back on what I was eating, on the amount I was eating and the balance of food, and killing off my sugar intake, I dropped 80 pounds in 3 years. I average a pound to a pound and a half a week. Now I don't worry about it. I'm sitting in a decent weight. If you're having trouble dropping weight, absolutely talk to somebody that's done it successfully. Your best bet is usually a physical trainer of some form. Okay, where it comes to posture, there's a couple of things you can absolutely do. Now, you'll notice my shoulders are not absolutely perfect. Okay, but that's because I'm not overly worried about it. I figure sooner or later I'll walk around bent completely over. There's something to look forward to. Usually that's the case when my right leg gives out and I hit the floor. One thing that I will tell you, and it works like a charm, if you're striving to figure out if your shoulders are straight, and again, this is part of your bearing, put the heels of your feet against the floor, against the wall, like saying against the wall, on the floor, obviously. You may have to leave them forward a bit, depending on what your balance and build is like. But when you lean against it, lean your head back, put it against the wall, and then push your shoulders back so they hit the wall. Now, this is going to feel uncomfortable to start with, but it will give you an idea of where your posture is standing. And I will tell you, you walk into a place when you're walking into a business and you're looking to be treated decently, the way you carry yourself, and I do mean your posture, absolutely is imperative. Okay, it is not the be all and end all. I've seen people that are dressed to the nines, perfect posture. They're great until they open their mouth. Yeah. Here's the neat thing, Blue. Blue is going, adequate sleep is an important and essential component for overall health. It absolutely is. And this is where I ran into a problem. You see, I kept hearing people tell me for years they require 8 hours of sleep. Well, the first thing that hit me was you're sleeping a third of your day away. So, on a whim, I decided to go, well, what happens if you cut your sleep to 4 hours and your health does not suffer? Okay, what happens? And what I discovered was you actually gain a month and a half living time every year. It took me forever to realize that sleeping 6 hours a night was not oversleeping when my sleep had ended up dropping to 3.5 to 4. Yeah, who goes head, shoulders, knees, and toes, knees and toes. Say it fast 10 times. I have trouble saying that fast once. So I just start with the first two letters of nose. No. Problem solved. And even that I can't say fast 10 times. I can only say one thing fast 10 times. And that is literally fast 10 times. Everything else doesn't work. But, the thing you got to remember is your bearing is not just about the way you physically look or the way you physically carry yourself. Your mouth, and I speak from experience, your mouth can be a disastrous way to introduce yourself. Okay. People have asked me questions for years, and I give them answers. Problem is, I usually give them answers rather on the direct side. Hence why I was told I had to learn tact. Still haven't gotten that down very well. But when you're looking at changing your impact on the world. Now, I've carried myself the way I have for years. So what I've done is decided, okay, I'm doing it my way. Enough is enough. Inside my house, I will have the best of the best. Hence why I happen to have my wife sitting beside me. Out of 8 billion people and then some, she's the one I decided was going to settle with. Okay, and I do mean settle with, not settle for. The reality of it is, the inside of my house and my apartment is going to be top of the line as time goes on. What's outside, there's a couple of reasons for me not upgrading the outside of my apartment or even the balcony itself. Because you see, if somebody looks at the outside of my house and they see an average home, clean, neat, that sort of thing, they'll look at that and go, okay, it's just average, right? If they get inside and I've got oak furniture, which I am building towards, okay, and top-notch clothing, top-notch dishes and what have you, that's for me to enjoy. If I let somebody in, great. Okay, the thing you have to remember is it's a question of what are you striving to present to the world? Because they're going to react to the way you dress and the way you carry yourself. Not to mention the way you speak.
We're at 5 minutes.
Oh, bonus. Okay, Kira's just reminded me that we are at the 5-minute mark. With this in mind, let me double check something here. Okay, now today is the 13th. Friday, when we come back, we are going to be talking about the Udina homeworld. On Saturday, we're going to take a look at humans according to the consortium. Then Sunday, we come back and look at language and its impact on mental health. Monday will be rent or lease to own and 0% financing. What are the pros and cons? I am no financial advisor, but I've looked into all of them. Okay, I've been around for a day or two. And then on Tuesday, we are going to deal with that requested version of how to cope with narcissists. Okay, now, I am also going to be back on Friday. That comes at 8 p.m. Pacific. I am going to be back on Friday with Positive Perceptions. Okay. So I do want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate the support and the encouragement. We will be back again. But until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.